Well, it looks as if R&B diva Anita Baker has given Soul Man, Babyface, and his fans the best that she's got, and she's like, ain't no need in worrying. I'm done with you. Anita Baker's cutoff game is strong. Let's talk about it, shall we? All right, you guys, welcome back over here to Pepe's Point of View, where we talk pretty much about R&B divas, and R&B diva Anita Baker is back in the news again. This time is with Babyface once again. Now, I thought this had died out. I didn't, follow it after, people were talking about the fact that Anita Baker asked Babyface pretty much to sit out, on a show that they had technical difficulties with. And instead of allowing Babyface to, do his show, then she do her show, and probably it would have gone into the wee hours of the night. It looks like Anita Baker, since it's her tour, she decided, well, you're my opening act. I'm going to keep this ship moving with my show. All right, so let's make sure that we get that clear and understood. I think a lot of people are not understanding that this is Anita Baker's tour. Babyface is like her opening act. I know a lot of people will find that a tad bit offensive, because you're like, hey, wait a minute. Babyface doesn't need to open for anyone. And maybe this is him, showing support. At best, how dare you put Babyface into an opening act, category. Either way, Billboard magazine has this to say about, Anita Baker. And it says, Anita Baker says she's going it alone on the songstress tour after alleged Babyface fan harassment. I'm going to talk about that. Whose fault is it? I'm saying it could be Babyface's. All right. So the news came out days of Baker detailing the trolling she's faced since her opening act was cut from a date in New Jersey. All right. Anita Baker has had it after going on a tweet spree over the past few days, decrying the harassment she has been receiving from Babyface's fans. The Caught Up in the Rapture singer announced on Tuesday morning, June 13th, that she's had it. Okay. And she's pretty much calling it more than likely cyberbullying. After silently enduring cyberbullying, verbal abuse, and threats of violence from the fan base of Babyface or her special guest support act. See, there I said it, support, and hadn't even looked at that. So yeah, I think at best you can call them the support act or special guest, maybe not an opening act. But anyway, in the interest of personal safety, I will continue the songstress tour alone. Appropriate refunds will be made. Blessings, Baker wrote alongside a new tour poster that doesn't feature her former opener's name on it. The tour celebrating Baker's 4 decades in the music business that kicked off in Florida in February is slated to run through December the 23rd show at Oakland Arena. Had featured opening support sets from singer-songwriter-producer Kenny Babyface Edmonds. But after Edmonds was unexpectedly cut from a May 10th show at the Prudential Center in New Jersey due to reported technical issues that passed the night start time by 2 hours, she said his fans have been relentlessly harassing and trolling her. I am truly sorry to my fans who have been waiting for us to hit the stage this evening at the Prudential Center, Babyface wrote at the time. I was asked not to perform in order to give Miss Baker her space and time to perform her show in its entirety. I just thought about something. No one has talked about money. I don't know, how these shows are set up, but now I think about it, it's probably more of a financial standpoint too, now that I think about it, because if Anita Baker, maybe she has the stadium or the auditorium, what have you, for a certain number of hours. And who knows, maybe if she went over, she would probably have to pay. Nobody never thought about that. I'm just thinking about that right now. So to be quite honest with you, maybe it was more of a financial thing. Like, I'm not going to pay, if we go over the time. That could be an issue. I don't know. But let's continue to move on. My band and I are extremely saddened we didn't get to perform for y'all tonight. In a series of tweets last weekend that stretched into the weekend, and then Monday, Baker made it crystal clear that Edmonds was always an opening act and that she is fed up with the alleged taunting from his fans, dubbing his followers Kenny's crazies. On Monday, Baker made a direct plea to Babyface to stop the madness. Dearest ones, you are not privy to the contracts. Oh, Lord, thank you. That's her. Yes, Babyface is special guest support act. On my tour, she tweeted, the false narrative a co-headliner is creating unrealistic expectations, aggressions from fans towards me. He should tell you guys the truth. Oh my gosh. At press time, it did not appear that Babyface had reacted to Baker's tweets, and a spokesperson from the singer had not returned a request for comment. Baker's tour is a celebration of 40 years in the music and the anniversary of her debut album, The Songstress, in 1983. The days also mark the first time the Ohio native is performing her classics since winning back the rights to her masters in 2021 with the help of Chance the Rapper. The next scheduled date on the tour is June 30 at the United Center in Chicago. Baby, right there, we can stop the press right there and we can eat all of that up just in what Billboard magazine has to say about it. And yes, we are not privy to the contracts. And again, I repeat myself, I know some of us are having a hard time understanding that an artist of Babyface's caliber could be seen as a support act or an opening act, but definitely not a co-headliner on this show. You have to understand that that's number one in it and of itself. This is how I think that a lot of people probably have a lot of fault to play at this one. And it seems like to me, being that Babyface is hush-hush about this, and we'll talk about it, he's tight-lipped, and he's probably tight-lipped for a reason. He knows it's not his tour. He knows that he's probably not heavily invested in this tour at all, other than that he is the support act, okay, or what have you. So that's it. So if you think about it, he has nothing to say at all. And he's probably stepping back and allowing Anita Baker to catch all the heat because he's not invested in this thing. You would like to think that if Babyface was kind of invested in it, especially if he had any kind of dealings with this tour whatsoever, then I think that Babyface would have come out by now and said to his fan base, hey, you guys kind of chill out. These things kind of happen, so on and so forth. It is what it is. I'm looking forward to you guys coming out to the next show, so on and so forth. And who knows, I'll get you guys on the back end. A whole lot of things of that nature could have happened, but he has not said anything at all, okay, from what reports are saying. And no, I haven't strolled over to look on his social media sites. As I said, that's not what it's all about. We're just talking about the details. He probably has. Of course, Babyface did speak out about the fact that he was not able to perform on that particular show that night. And of course, people were upset. You have to think that people are definitely going to be upset again because you paid money to come to see a show. And again, people paid to see Babyface. Me personally, I'm going to go see Anita Baker. It's her show. It's what I'm going to do. I'm not that much of a Babyface fan. So if he's not performing, I'll probably go like, man, you know, I'm going to miss Babyface, but thank God it wasn't Anita Baker, you know, and vice versa. Some people probably say, well, I just came to see a Babyface. I'm not really that much of an Anita Baker's fan. So let's talk about that right here and there. Now, this is where I think that a lot of egos are in place, because we're definitely dealing with two powerhouses, okay? We're dealing with Babyface and we're dealing with Anita Baker, and both of them have a strong fan base. They do. It is what it is. They have a strong fan base. They have a loyal following. You know, again, none of them have released records that I can think of in a period of time, but they're still able to, you know, have these successful tours. Having said that, I'm pretty sure these two have gone back and forth with each other, all right? I'm sure about that. They've gone back and forth, and it's easy for us on the outside looking in to say, well, you know, Anita Baker has this history of being a difficult person to work with. Now, you have to keep in mind, what has Anita Baker been difficult about? Now, she did, one artist I know made a comment. I should say alleged at this point. Hold on, you guys. Let me get to this. Y'all making me tired, but let me get to this alleged. But all right, I'll probably talk about that for a second. But let me just briefly recap the history of Anita Baker. You probably don't care about it, but it is what it is. I'm just going to be brief with you. She signs a recording contract, okay, with Chapter 8. She's dropped from Chapter 8, okay. Allegedly, Clive Davis, when he bought the record company Anita Baker was on, she was dropped because they basically said, you know, Anita Baker was not talented. Okay, she couldn't sing. That's what, you know, alleged, you know, Clive Davis and them were saying when they purchased the record company she was assigned to, like back in 78, 79. I mean, it's what it is. So now her old Chapter 8, you know, bandmates have started a label, Beverly Glenn Records, so they're associated with Beverly Glenn Records. And so they reach out to Anita Baker and they ask her to be a part of, you know, their recording home there. And Anita Baker did. She went, signed the contract, so on and so forth. And, well, the devil is in the details, meaning that there you have it. Anita Baker, you know, is pretty much riding on a successful album for the most part. Angel is number 5 on the R&B charts. You know, she has other hits from the album as well. You know, they hover maybe around the top 40 on the R&B charts. And she's opening up for acts like Frankie Beverly and Maze. So Anita Baker's looking at, wait a minute, where's my money? So she and the record company, you know, they have some issues about Anita Baker's money. And Anita Baker, unlike most first-time artists out, she was like, you guys got to pay up. I need my money. So what you have to understand, even at this moment in time, Anita Baker has definitely understood that I performed and I want my money in. So even in the very beginning, you people out there who don't know who Anita Baker is like that, you probably automatically going to say to yourself that she's being difficult because she's not going with the status quo. Well, she eventually is released from that record label. She signs with Elektra Records. Again, with Elektra Records, she takes control over her career. She's the executive producer of her material. She knows what she wants to do. Do you understand? She knows how she wants to have things packaged. And for the most part, this is her first time being an executive producer of an album. And so the album, pretty much the budget is gone. The budget that they gave her for the album is gone. Long story short, she reaches in her own pocket and she finishes the record that went on to be the successful Rapture album. All right? It is what it is. And the rest is history. Elektra Records eventually bought the rights to the Songstress album, and there you have it. Now the Songstress album, from the last time I checked years ago, that album is now gold, okay? And it's probably in part to the fact that Anita Baker has a loyal fan base, all right? Now, there have been some issues with Anita Baker, and let's just say, what's her name? I mean, not her name. Luther Vandross. Yes, there have been some issues with her and Luther Vandross, but you have to keep in mind, Luther Vandross has had some issues with other R&B divas as well. It is what it is, and we could talk on and on about that. So again, two powerhouses, you know, coming together, and things do clash. Yes. Am I saying I'm taking up for Anita Baker at this moment in time? I'm not necessarily saying Anita Baker cannot probably be shady, you know, in some of her dealings or what have you. But again, she understands it's my show. I know at the end of the day, you guys are going to hold me accountable and responsible if my show is not up to par, if my music is not up to par. And we'll talk about that music as well. But here's another thing that some people probably are unaware of. Anita Baker and I think, is it JoJo? Joe? I think her name is Joe, the lead singer of the group, the Mary Jane Girls. All right. While she didn't necessarily have any back and forth between her and the singer from the Mary Jane Girls, she was at a time, the lead singer was singing background, was one of Anita Baker's background singers. Long story short, on that end, I thought it was probably a little shady for Anita Baker maybe to introduce her when they made it to her hometown. And when they made it to the singer's hometown, brought her out on the stage allegedly, you know, to tell her, hey, you know, to the crowd, so on and so forth. Maybe she should have, but when Rick James found out about this, all right, Rick James was allegedly upset, and he did say, hey, I'm about to sue a whole lot of people. Because the Mary Jane Girls was, they had a contract with Rick James, and it looked like there was a whole lot of dealings, and Rick James was shutting that Mary Jane Girls machine down because there was a whole lot of things going on at the time where the ladies of the Mary Jane Girls allegedly could not, you know, perform because, you know, there was lawsuits and all that stuff going on. So that's the only thing that I would say that was probably kind of shady with Anita Baker. All right. Now, allegedly, now this is just me. I'm not bringing other R&B divas into this, but I will say allegedly now Mickey Howard, I find this funny, but Mickey Howard has said that Anita Baker, you know, kind of whispered in her ear when she won a Soul Train Music Award, maybe around about, what, 1988? I think the Soul Train Music Awards, 1988. I think Mickey Howard allegedly, Mickey Howard has allegedly said that Anita Baker whispered in her ear, said, baby, that's the last award you're going to win, because that was Anita Baker's category. I think it was Album of the Year or something like that, or R&B Album of the Year or something that, you know. Then, of course, we know that Anita Baker had some falling out with her producer, Michael J. Power. Now, it was alleged that maybe, you know, Anita Baker, you know, saying, this is how I want to sound. These are the songs I want to sing. This is the style I want to sing it in. I know my production. I know my packaging. And there was time where allegedly Anita Baker took the recordings and everything out of the studio and was like, well, hey, we ain't recording unless we're doing it my way. So there could be a reason why she and Michael J. Powell are no longer working together, you know. But anywho, and there was this rift tiff, I don't know if you guys remember this, between her and Sherilyn. Yes, Sherilyn, Encore Sherilyn, Got to Be Real Sherilyn, that Sherilyn, yes. Years ago, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Sherilyn was also posting some things on social media because allegedly Anita Baker had blocked her. And so Sherilyn was like, oh, you just mad because I can sing better than you, so on and so forth. I don't know what happened. I'm not quite sure why she had blocked Sherilyn. I can't remember that. But anyway, but I'm still team Anita Baker. All right. And this is why I fought babyface. So we can't go down Anita Baker's timeline without going down Babyface timeline. Well, what do you mean? Now, Babyface is allegedly not squeaky clean either. And that's what I'm saying. Babyface is tight-lipped. And I think, again, it's because he's saying it's not my tour. He knows that. And we fans, well, it's not me, but his fans are upset because he is, looks like he's getting the bad end of the stick. I don't think so. I think if anything, again, Babyface probably, he came out publicly to tell the fans why he did not perform. Great. So now I think it is appropriate if they was going to continue. Hopefully Anita Baker told them to say, hey, listen, you know, your fans are doing X, Y, and Z. Can you please at least tell them, hey, and help them come to some kind of understanding. He's not doing that. I think I understand maybe why. There's another reason why. Because this is not the first time Babyface and Anita Baker has had some issues. You remember doing her album. What is the name of that album? Her last album. Let me think. I got to close my eyes and think of that. She's in that black dress. My Everything. That My Everything album. The last album that she came out with, there was some issues about Babyface being paid or things like that. Like they've tried to work together or do a show together, and there was some things about some money. It looked like maybe it was water under a bridge eventually. And so I'm wondering, why would Babyface, this is me, Babyface, I have a question. Why would you continue to work with Anita Baker? And when you guys know that y'all have not been able to see eye to eye on certain things, keeping in mind that this looked like the same play that Luther Vandross and Anita Baker had. You remember back in the day that Luther Vandross and Anita Baker was supposed to have squashed their beef between each other, and they was going to do a duet together. I think the song is called I Who Have Nothing. All right. It could have been on his Power of Love CD back in 1991. I'm going to say a little fuzzy on Luther Vandross's dates. Anywho, well, Anita Baker did not show up for that session. Didn't show up. And so Luther Vandross calls in Martha Wash. And she is the reason why she, the record came out, because, he called her up to ask her to come in and sing with him. And so Martha Wash and Luther Vandross, did the duet, I Who Have Nothing. But now, what we have here is Babyface. Babyface is not innocent. I know it's probably difficult for people to understand, and what I mean by he's not difficult, I mean that he is not innocent. We forget Pebbles. Do we forget Pebbles? Oh, I understand. I understand a lot of people want to be upset at Anita Baker and saying that Anita Baker is difficult to deal with. But have we forgotten Pebbles? Oh, I understand that Pebbles was married to L.A. Reid, and maybe the rift tiff was between L.A. Reid and L.A. Reid and his wife Pebbles. But somehow or another, Babyface had to be around in that incident as well. Because again, this here is TLC. TLC and all the legalities that was going on with TLC and Babyface and Pebbles and L.A. Reid and all of those people, Arista Records and LaFace Records, and that lawsuit. How easily do we forget Babyface is involved in that? I repeat it one more time. For everybody wanting to talk about Anita Baker is difficult to work with and she's not squeaky clean. Babyface is not squeaky clean. Okay, allegedly. Where's my alleged? But allegedly, he's not squeaky clean. I'm just saying. All right. How easily do we forget Toni Braxton? All right. Everybody will say, oh, Anita Baker's just so difficult. She got all these people, that she's difficult with. What about Toni Braxton? We want to forget that, don't we? I understand. We want to forget it. Yeah, we're not going to forget it. We're not going to forget the fact that Toni Braxton had to sue LaFace Records, to get her money, because she allegedly is saying, hey, from a business standpoint, baby, I am bankrupt. I don't have it. She even had to sell her Grammys. I mean, had to get permission to auction off her Grammys. And that's when we allegedly find out on the Oprah Winfrey Show, when she was on the Oprah Winfrey Show talking about it. That's when I had to stop and think, wait a minute. The Grammys gave you a Grammy, but then you have to go to the Grammys to ask them for their permission for you to do with your award, because they gave it to you. They gave you an award that is not yours. I mean, that's what it came down to. Toni Braxton, go back and look at the old clips of her on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And she said she had to call up the Grammys to get permission from the Grammys, right, in order to auction off the Grammys. The Grammys don't belong to them. So you have that issue, okay, with all of the stuff that is going on between the two of them, and a whole lot of list of other things that, you know, allegedly that Babyface have been involved in. Okay, now I understand maybe 10, 20 years later, now Tony Braxton can talk about it now, but at first it was not something that they would talk about because it was in the contracts. You can't talk about this right now. So I don't know what to tell you. I really and truly don't at this moment in time. I think what we need to do is we need to be a little bit mindful of how, number one, how we report these things. Number two, and how we deal with them, even from a fan base is concerned. Because if people are still upset at Anita Baker, I can understand the people who probably purchased the tickets. All right. But now, my thing is this. She's saying to the people, the fans, hey, listen here, he's not on the tour anymore. I'll reimburse you your money. That's what she's saying. Babyface, well, what are you going to do, Babyface? Are you going to now, because people are upset, I'm just saying, I'm throwing this out here. So are you going to go back to, you know, the place where you couldn't perform, where Anita Baker said you couldn't perform? Are you going to do a free concert? Are you going to show back up there to show your support? Or are you just going to let those people be mad at Anita Baker? You see, now what I'm most interested in is how did this problem, excuse me, I'm going to take that back. Did the two of them ever sit down together to really and truly hash this out? Or was Anita Baker as in true form like, hey, enough is enough. I don't have to put up with this. I'm Anita Baker. I'm Anita Baker. You know, is what it is. I do think that at this moment in time, for anyone in the business, this is me, you know, for any artist in the business at this moment in time who is trying to take sides with this Babyface and Anita Baker's situation, I'm here to tell you, I don't see a reason for any of you guys to take sides at all with this. There's just really no need. At the end of the day, everybody should understand some of the difficulties with touring, especially when you are an act of a particular caliber. All right? That's what I'm saying. It is what it is. I try not to go over 30 minutes over here. So again, I think it's only appropriate if you got to this part of my commentary, then hey, why don't you go ahead on and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, tell me what you guys think about this Babyface and Anita Baker thing. He's obviously has gotten the boot. Do you think it's right? Do you think it's wrong? Or do you just simply and truly don't care? For me, it's news. I'm going to report it. I'm going to talk about it over here because that's what I do, talking about R&B divas over here at Pepe's Point of View. Again, thank you guys so much. And don't forget to follow me on my social media platforms. And as always, as I leave and end the videos, I want to say, remember to put your behind where your heart desires to be. I believe in doing that. I hope that you're doing that as well. And also keep in mind that whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always says to me, she says, baby, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. And I'm here to tell you, thank you guys so much for your love and your support. I really and truly do appreciate it. And until then, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next video. Take care of yourselves out there.